Hey there, Careblazer. How are you doing today? I'm happy to be back. Today I want to talk about something that you probably already have heard about. Something that you already know. You maybe even have tried to mentally prepare yourself because you know that time is coming in the future. However, when that time comes, it can be incredibly heartbreaking. And that is when your loved one with dementia stops remembering who you are, or no longer recognizes who you are, or forgets your name. It's not uncommon for somebody with dementia, especially in the middle and later stages of dementia, to forget who people are. Your loved one may no longer be able to recognize familiar people, or they might confuse you for somebody else. For example, your father with dementia may confuse you with being his wife instead of his daughter, right? So this is a symptom that happens frequently in dementia, and you may find yourself faced with this while you care for your loved one. When this happens, it's a sign that the dementia is progressing. It has nothing to do with how much your loved one with dementia loves you or cares about you or how much they loved you in the past. It's simply one of those awful symptoms that comes along with dementia for many people and has nothing to do with how they truly feel about you. When this happens, it can create some added challenges for you. So for example, if your loved one no longer recognizes who you are, your loved one might actually start to become resistant to your care. They might be more aggressive because here you are trying to give them care and they have no idea who you are. So there are some extra challenges you might face. But what I really want you to know is that it has nothing to do with how your loved one feels about you, and it has to do with the dementia progressing. And as we know, with dementia, the more earlier memories stay there, but more recent memories start to go away. So memories from way back in their past, from their earlier years, tend to stick around longer. So in some cases, it's not even that your loved one no longer remembers you or that your loved one no longer recognizes you. It's just that their brain has gone back in time 10, 20, 30, 40 years, and they remember you from those days. They remember who you are and your face from that point in time, if you were even alive. So if you can think and imagine if all of a sudden you lost memory for 20, 30 years and all of the physical changes that somebody goes through, it would be hard for you to recognize people that you loved and have cared for your whole life. So this is essentially what's happening to your loved one's brain, is that it's going back in time so far that they no longer recognize you. And if you were to show your loved one maybe a photo book with pictures of family members from a long, long time ago, you might find that your loved one starts to respond and remember more. So I know this situation can be heartbreaking, and I want to give you some ideas for how to cope if you find yourself in this situation in the future. So number one, feel the pain. It would be unnatural if you weren't sad about this phase in the disease. Not only does it mean that your loved one no longer recognizes you or no longer knows your name, but it's a signal that represents that your loved one's continuing to decline, right? You're continuing to watch your loved one slowly fade away before your eyes. So allow yourself to feel the sorrow. It's completely normal. Second, do not try to quiz them or get them to remember. A lot of caregivers do this well-meaning and being well-intentioned, but it actually leads to a lot of stress for your loved one with dementia, and it can make the relationship more strained between you and your loved one with dementia. So if your loved one forgets your name, it's okay to simply remind your loved one of your name. It's okay to just say, "I'm your daughter Julia," and continue on with your visit or continue on with your conversation. There's no need to quiz your loved one or to try to force your loved one to remember your name. Although it might make you feel better, it usually makes things much worse. If you have visitors coming to the house who are trying to do the same thing and quiz your loved one, please encourage them to just introduce themselves and to go on with the visit. The whole goal is to continue having pleasant interactions with your loved one with dementia, not to make sure that they remember your name every time. Now, if your loved one doesn't recognize you anymore, and you might try to tell them, I'm your daughter or I'm your wife, and they still don't recognize you, and it might make them a little bit nervous and make them upset, do not try to convince your loved one otherwise, right? We know this, Careblazers. We know it's not a good idea to try to argue with your loved one, try to rationalize with them, try to convince them of something that in their mind they can't make sense of and they don't believe. So rather than getting into an argument or trying to convince your loved one that you are in fact their daughter or that you are in fact their son, you can just say, I'm a friend coming by for a visit. Or I'm a neighbor who likes to come talk to you and we're friends. It's simple to just stay with a simple explanation that's easy for your loved one with dementia to accept without getting into an argument if your loved one just can't fathom that you are their family member. Now remember, there is no one blanket approach to dementia, right? So you can start out trying to explain by saying, hi Dad, I'm your daughter Julia. And if your dad responds wonderfully to that, then keep using that approach. It's simple, it's true, great. But if your loved one with dementia responds negatively or shows signs of distress because they don't recognize you as a family member, that's where you want to come up with another very simple explanation that will be easier for your loved one to handle, like the fact that you're a friend stopping by for a visit or you're a neighbor stopping by for a visit. Third, understand that dementia can be tricky, right? A lot of times things don't make sense, and try not to take offense if for some reason your loved one with dementia can remember the neighbor's name or can remember your sibling's name but doesn't remember your name. It's really hard to try to figure all this dementia stuff out, and it's really hard to try to know, and fully understand why somebody with dementia might remember somebody else's name and not remember yours. Fourth, I've kind of already alluded to this, but if your loved one is having trouble recognizing and remembering family members, bring out an old photo album. The older the pictures, the more likely your loved one's going to be able to remember that person, because the memories have gone back in time so much that they're not recognizing who they see in front of them, but they might recognize the person from 20, 30 years ago. So go through a family album and see how your loved one responds to that. And finally, visits are still worthwhile. Your loved one with dementia can still get a lot of benefit from visits from family members and friends that they don't recognize. They can still engage and still have a lot of powerful, positive emotions, even if they don't recognize you as their family members. Your visits are really more about the discussions you have with your loved one, spending quality time with your loved one, engaging with them in a pleasant event, and it's not all about do they exactly remember who you are. So there's still a lot of worth and a lot of benefit to come from visiting your loved one with dementia, even when they don't remember you. Please know that. Careblazer, I hope the day never comes where your loved one forgets who you are or doesn't recognize you. But if that day does come, I hope that you'll find this video helpful and be able to remember some of the specific coping strategies to help get you through this difficult time. Caring for a loved one with dementia comes with all kinds of challenges, and this might just be another one that you have to face. I hope that you found this helpful. If you want to connect with me in between weekly videos, make sure you hop on over to careblazers.com, and you can make sure you download the free Careblazer Survival Guide, connect with other Careblazers by joining the Facebook group, and I'll be back next week with another video. All right, Careblazer, keep up the good work. Bye. Is starting to decline. The brain cells are passing. I'm a visitor. We come by and meet with